Hello, second grade artists. I'm so happy to see you, Mrs. Gordon here. Um, I cannot wait for today's lesson because today's lesson is one of my very favorite lessons. So right now I'm introducing the slides to you. After you watch this little introduction video, you're going to go click on the slideshow and go through the slides and watch all the videos that are embedded in the slides. And we're going to make some art. So today we're going to be focusing on the element of art line. You learned about it in first grade. You're going to learn more about it in second grade, and you're going to be using lines. You're going to be taking a look at the awesome art of Miss Sandra Silberzweig and look at how she used lines to create your own art using lines inspired by her art on fish. So today we're going to learn about lines and learn about Miss Silberzweig. We're going to draw lines, practice lines in our journal, and we're going to use those lines to draw fish, and both of those will be videos with me. And then when you're done, you're going to think about what you learned, reflect on what you learned, and record it in a Google form. So today you're going to need a pencil, you're going to need an art journal, you're going to need a black crayon or a black marker, and a large blank piece of paper. And so if you don't have art paper at home, a cut up paper bag from like the grocery store works way better than like notebook paper. So just a little, might need to have a person at home help you out with getting a paper bag and cutting it up to use for your art. In art, like you started learning about last year, there are 7 elements of art. The elements of art are line, shape, form, space, color, value, and texture. And last year we learned about line and shape and color and texture. And we're going to add to what we learned from last year this year. Today we're going to be learning about the element of art called line. One way that artists can make art is with lines. They can draw lines or paint lines, or they can glue yarn or paper to make lines. There are lots of different ways that they can make lines, and there are lots of different lines that they can make. Look at all these. These should be familiar to you from last year. Okay, right now I want you to look around your room, and when you get to the slide, you can do it again if you want. Maybe you'll see something new. And I want you to see, what kind of lines do you see? So like right here in the back of my classroom right now, I see a curved line, and look, I see that same curved line in my Bitmoji classroom, and I kind of traced it right here so you could see it. I see along my whiteboard an up and down line. We call that a vertical line. I see a zigzag line in my carpet. I see a little bit of a castle line over here on the easel. I see a side-to-side line over here behind my Bitmoji person. What are some lines that you see in your room right now? Look around. After you look around your room and find your lines, you're going to go to the slide in the video, and you're going to watch this video in the slideshow. Oh, it's a fun one. We remember that from last year. My favorite part is when the bunny goes skiing down the hill. I like that part the best. So if you're ready to practice starting drawing some lines, when you get to this slide, you're going to make sure you have a pencil and your art journal. And then you'll go to the next slide and you'll watch a video with Mrs. Gordon where we practice drawing some lines in your journal, and we get your journal set up too. And remember, when you're watching this video, you can pause it at any time if I'm going too fast, because I tried to go fast so that it wouldn't take forever to upload them. Once you practice drawing your lines, you're going to take a look at this slide. This is the artist, Miss Sandra Silberzweig, and she is a contemporary painter. Contemporary means that she's living and making art right now. She lives in Toronto, Canada. Canada is the country north of the United States. Maybe some of you have been to Canada before. And she has this thing called synesthesia. And I've met another artist who has this. And synesthesia is where you mix your senses. So like the woman I met, whenever she hears a word, she associates a color with that word or sound. So it's just like it kind of comes to her that way. But Sandra Silberzweig has synesthesia also, which means when she hears sounds, she hears them as colors, and she sees music. She sees what music looks like. So it's such an interesting thing. This is a piece of art by Miss Silberzweig, This is called citrine coral fish. And when you get to this slide, you really want to think about, what do you see? How does this piece of art make you feel? What colors do you see? What shapes do you see? What lines do you see? And after you look at this and really examine this slide more, you're going to go back and you're going to find some lines that Miss Silberzweig made, and you're going to draw them in your own journal on the line page in your journal. Maybe you love how she did this straight line with a wavy line next to it, or you like how she put some spirals together to make a line of spirals. You know, try to look at what she made and try to make some lines inspired by that in your journal. Then, friends, you'll be ready to make some art after you practice drawing some lines. Okay, and it says, are you ready to draw lines to make fish? Remember, you will need something to draw black lines with, like a black crayon or a marker. You will also need a large piece of thick blank paper, and then I remind you about the paper bag again. And then you'll go to this slide, and you'll watch this video with Mrs. Gordon, and you'll make lines and add some details. Use your knowledge of lines to draw lines to make fish, and then add some details to that fish. Remember, you can pause it whenever you need to. When you're done, here's my finished part for the day. This is as far as we're getting. We're not going any farther than this today. We're not adding color or anything to the background. We're just drawing some fish, adding some details in our fish, and then you're going to put it in a safe place. Get it? Safe. Safe place for next week, because you will need this again next week. After you've put your art in a safe place, you're going to think about these questions. What element of art did you learn about or use today? And then you're going to think to yourself, what did I learn about art or the artist? And you're going to also think about, how did I make my art? So when you think about the question, what element of art did you learn? It might be more than one. Sometimes we learn more than one, and there'll be check boxes so you can check off which elements of art did you learn about. And then when you get to this question, you're going to say, I learned, and if you say something like, I learned lines, or I learned about lines, that's a good start, but I'd like for you to tell me a little bit more. Like, I learned that you can use these kinds of lines to draw fish, or I learned that you can make lots of different kinds of lines. So tell me a little bit about what you learned about making art. Or you could say, I learned that Sandra Silberzweig paints art and she lives in Canada. You know, whatever you learned that's most interesting to you. And for the question, how did you make your art? You want to think about, like, what art verb did you use today? Did you paint today? Did you draw today? Did you sculpt? And then what did you use to paint or draw? Did you draw with a pencil or a marker or a crayon? And then what did you draw or what did you paint with the tool that you were using? So it might say something like, I drew fish with a pencil, or I drew a dog with a marker. Okay, so talk about how you made your art. And you're going to click on that to record your answers. Next week, we will review what we learned this week. That's what teachers do. We will continue our drawing of fish inspired by Sandra Silberzweig. You will need a black marker or crayon next week. You will also need your art from this week. To get credit for the project today, all you have to do is complete the Google form. But if you really love what you made and you want to share a picture with me, you can share a picture through a Schoology message, or if your parents have Twitter or Instagram, you can share something on Twitter or Instagram at Mrs. Gordon_art. Friends and artists, I loved seeing you today virtually. I can't wait till we can be back together in person, and I hope you're doing well. Bye-bye.